Good morning, little friends. We are back here with New Wine Church and Big Church for Little People. And I am so happy about today. We are finishing up our series of the parables of Jesus. And if you notice on my board, we are going to be in the book of Luke, and we are going to be discussing the shrewd manager. Before we even get into our story, our parable, our story from Jesus, I just want to know if you guys know what shrewd means. If you don't, I looked it up for you, and it is in the definition, somebody who has sharp or shows sharp powers of judgment, somebody who is hard-headed, who is like. So we will be talking about the word shrewd, and we will be talking about the story of the shrewd manager. But I am glad that you are here, and I am just going to welcome you today. If you have been following our series, we are finishing up today, and it has been weeks of studying and talking about the parables of Jesus and what they mean for us and in our life. And I am so excited to finish the series because it means we get to jump into something else. And I'm not really sure where we're going to be going, but I will have that news for you next week with a little preview of what we're going to be starting. But we are going to jump into the book of Luke, chapter 16. And this one, unlike some of the other ones, is kind of lengthy. But we are going to read together, starting with verse 1. So it says, Jesus told a story to his disciples. There was a certain rich man who had a manager handling all of his affairs. One day, a report came back, and that one of his managers was wasting his employer's money. So the employer called him in and said, "What is this that I hear about you? Get your report in order because you are going to be fired." The manager thought to himself, "Oh no, now what? My boss has fired me. I don't have the strength to dig ditches like manual labor. I am too proud to beg for money." "Aha," he said, "I know how to ensure that I will have plenty of friends who will give me a home once I'm fired." So he invited each person who owed his boss money to come and discuss each situation. He asked the first one, "How much do you owe him?" And the man replied, "I owe him 800 gallons of olive oil." So the manager told him, "Take this bill and quickly change it, make it 400 gallons. And then, "How much do you owe my employer?" he asked the next man. He said, "I owe 1,000 bushels of wheat," was his reply. "Here," said the manager, "take your bill, change it to 800 bushels. The rich man had to admire the big boss guy. He had to admire the dishonest rascal for being so shrewd. And it is true that the children of this world are more shrewd in dealing with the world around them than are the children of light. Here is the lesson. Use your worldly resources to benefit others and make friends. Then, when your possessions are gone, they will welcome you into an eternal home. If you are faithful with the little things, you will be faithful with the large things. And you won't be honest. But if you are dishonest with the little things, then you won't be honest with the greater responsibilities. And if you are untrustworthy with worldly wealth, who will trust you with the true riches of heaven? And if you are not faithful with other people's things, why should you be trusted with the things of your own? This is a huge, huge story. Now, it is kind of confusing because we have a big boss man notices that his guy that's in charge of all of his stuff is doing some shady business. So the Bible says that he's using his money carelessly. So the big boss man says, okay, get your stuff together. You're out of here. Well, the man that was in charge that was getting fired, he says, how am I going to live? What am I going to do? I'm not going to have a job. Where is my life going? So he thought, I'm going to make a way for myself. I have to prepare for myself because I'm about to have no job, no food, no money, period. So he decides to be deceitful, but he devises a plan. He says, come over here, all you people who owe my boss money. Come over here. And without any right, he says, cut your bill in half. You no longer owe him this much, you owe him this much. Now, what is he doing? He's trying to get on the good side of those people because he thinks, I'm not going to have any friends, any money, any job, any home. Once I get fired, I better start making plans for myself. So he uses his position as this guy in charge to cut these bills in half so that these guys like him. He's gaining all these worldly friends unjustly because it wasn't his money to cut the bill in half. But he's doing this because he's trying to make a way for himself. He's preparing for the future, even though when he knows it is the wrong thing for him to do. Now, what kind of story is this? What kind of story is Jesus telling? First of all, he's pointing out the crookedness of the man, the shrewdness, the judgmental, the hasty decision maker of this man. He's pointing out and saying, look at what this man is doing. He is wrongfully using this guy's money to, cut the bills in half, but he's saying, be friends with me so that when I have nothing, I know that you're going to return the favor. He's making a way for himself because he knows that in the future, soon, he's not going to have his job or money, and he knows that maybe these guys that he's doing a favor for will in return do a favor for him when he's in need. Now, that's the first point. Jesus is showing how this man is using his worldly resources, making this worldly decision to take care of himself and only himself in the future. Is he thinking about his boss's money? Is he thinking about how his money decisions that he's making is going to affect his boss? No. He's not thinking about that at all. So, number one, this man is being super, super selfish, okay? Number two, Jesus, what is this story trying to tell us so that we can take something from this story and make our lives better? Well, here we go. So, this story of this shrewd manager, all these shrewd decisions that he's making, Jesus is saying, turn this around. Make this for the benefit of my good and my kingdom. He's saying, number one, I hope you can see this. It says, looking out for yourself. The man was definitely looking out for himself. But Jesus says this could be a good thing. You, as a believer, as a Christian, as a follower of the Most High, you need to look out for yourself for your future. What about our future? What do we have to do? We have to make sure that we're rightful living. We have to make sure that we are headed up to heaven. We have to make sure that we are taking care of our business here on earth, so that when we are done and finished, we are going to spend eternity with God. Now, what is our earthly business? What are we supposed to do on earth? Share the gospel, preach about Jesus, tell our friends about our very big best friend, what he's done in our life. These things that we have to do our job as a believer, though that job is never ever done. And once our life is over, we get to spend eternity with God, and that is when our reward is in heaven. Now, that was number one. The man was clearly looking out for himself. Number two, the Bible says, store up your treasures in heaven, where moth and rust do not destroy. Here is the thing. This man was worried about money and, material things and stuff that he wasn't going to have, and the danger that he was in because he was losing his job. The Bible says, don't be concerned with too much of that. Your treasure is in heaven. Worry about what you're doing for God, because that's where your treasure lies. That's where your business is going to be in the future. So Jesus is taking this crazy story of greed and of shrewdness and of looking out for oneself, kind of selfishness, and Jesus is saying, turn this thing around. Look at what this man did. Look at his story and how he got fired and did all this weird stuff. Turn that around and make this about you. Make this about you so that you know that you need to look out for yourself. What am I doing that's aiming me and fixing my eyes on Jesus? What am I doing in my life that I need to change so that I make sure that my heart is right with God? What am I doing to store my treasure in heaven? Am I worried about all this earthly stuff? Am I worried about, money, cars, toys, all this stuff that is really right now not important when we think of our end game? And what is our end game? What is our end of the world view? We get to spend eternity with Jesus. And when we get wrapped up in thinking about ourselves and how we need to take care of ourselves and push everyone else aside, who cares? This man, the man who was doing all this stuff to his manager or his big boss guy, he didn't think about him one piece. Once he knew and heard and figured out that he was getting fired, yes, he went into panic mode and thought, I need to take care of myself. And so he was like, forget him. So he started doing weird stuff with the money, so that he could end up being the one who benefited from it in the long run. Jesus is saying, look at this guy. Look at him. See what he's doing? He's preparing for the end. I want you to prepare for the end. I want you to look out for yourself, but in the heavenly realm. See, our job as a believer is not to worry about all this earthly material stuff. We have to worry about our job as a believer. Is our job done? Are we doing it right? And where are we going? We know as a follower of Jesus, we're going to spend eternity with him. Who cares if this man got fired? He's not going to have any job. Who cares how selfish he was going to be in this parable? We have to turn that around to think, where am I going in the end? Where is my life going? How can I be selfish for Jesus? My time, what I'm doing, my efforts, my thought patterns, is all of that pointing towards God? Because in the end, that's all that matters. The Bible says store up your treasures in heaven, which means all of your important stuff in the end is with him. So this one was a little bit long, a little bit confusing, but we know what God is trying to tell us. I am thankful that you are here with us today. We are ending our Parables of Jesus series, and it has been amazing. Dissecting, pulling apart these stories that Jesus talks about with his friends. And most importantly, we are his friends. We read this stuff, we hear what God is saying to us, and we use it in our life to make our life a little more directed towards him. So, thank you for being here. We will see you next week with a brand new series. See you later.